Let's talk about guilt and how allowing a feeling or a thought of guilt come in and how you interact with that feeling and what OCD will do with that in an instant. My name is Matt and I'm Peacefully Wired. Now, if you are someone who deals with guilt, and that's part of your OCD journey, a lot of guilt and a lot of shame, you'll know the feeling of guilt, and you'll know the feeling of needing to get that reassurance that you're not guilty, that you're not responsible. So what does that come from? It comes from a belief of, being responsible for something that goes wrong is the worst thing in the world, or the fear of rejection, the fear of being seen as a bad person, right? So a couple of months ago, I had a random thought about a friend of mine that I hadn't seen since 2012, so about 14 years. It was 13, it was last year, so 13 years. My friend was a street pharmacist. He was my street pharmacist. And I remembered the last encounter that we had was when I went to go purchase street pharmaceuticals from him. And we were in my car, and at the time, he was succumbing to an opioid addiction, okay? And what he wanted me to do was go into this hardware store and return some tools that he had stolen. So he could get what they would do is, this was a scam that a lot of people would do. They would steal things from like a Home Depot or a Lowe's or a Ace Hardware, and then they would bring the stuff back and they would get a refund, but the refund would come in the form of a gift card for the establishment, and then they would go and sell that to somebody for like half the value to get some money to go buy drugs. And my friend had done it so often, he probably had been flagged, because I actually worked at a Home Depot and I knew what this was all about. And I told him no, and I just didn't want to do it. And I'd always kind of felt a little bad about that, because my friend also, like during the times I struggled, he was very generous to me and would allow me to not give an exchange some of the time and then owe him for things a good amount of the time. And so he even threw that in my face when he asked me to do that. And I always felt a little bad about it. And, come to find out, I had that thought and I started ruminating about that instance and felt a little bad about it. And then I actually Googled my friend and found out that he died of a heroin overdose. And because I have acceptance, I understood pretty much in that moment when I started to kind of feel bad, like, oh, there's something I could have done. All of that time, I was so selfish. All I wanted was for me to be able to get high. I never really paid attention to what was going on with him. Maybe I could have helped. But the reality is that I had no control over his trajectory, okay? And because I have acceptance, I didn't allow a feeling